Welcome, Luminessa Enjara, and I'd like to share with you today a New Year's message. I brought this through today as I was writing my article for my blog, and I really felt it was something I wanted to share with more than just my readers. So, what I have called this is 2024, the year of choice point. Now, what does it mean when we say choice point? Well, that word came to me because I realized that this particular year, for me at least, what I see happening is that we are really becoming or needing to become much more aware of the choices that we make. Now, I have been involved with the personal self-development, you could say, um, I don't know, I wouldn't want to say system, but the whole area in awakening, self-development, spiritual awakening, spiritual self-growth, all of these things for most of my adult life. I have done multiple trainings and been trained myself as a spiritual counselor, as a guide, as well as an ordained minister and a priestess, and on and on and on. I only tell you that because I have been around the block and I have been here noticing, watching, observing not only my own behavior and my own ways of being in the world, my own reactivity, my own ways in which I deal with life's challenges and situations, but of course, I've been aware of what's happening in the global front. 2024 will offer us many new challenges. It will offer us an opportunity for all of us to learn how to become more conscious, more awake, more available, more compassionate, more loving, more attuned to other people. It'll be an opportunity for us to step beyond our personal identification. We might want to call that the ego, your personal self, whatever name you want to call that aspect of you, your psychological self. It will be a year that I feel is a year for us to learn how to become one with each other, how to unify with each other. Someone said it's the year of we rather than me. And I really like that. So the year of choice point. This is a year where I feel we have to, and I would say we have to, but I mean it in a most loving way, not that you must or not that you should, but that is an opportunity for us to learn how to really tune in to the highest choices that we can in any given moment, any given opportunity, whether it be personally or whether we're choosing to vote for somebody or choosing not to vote for somebody. Choice point puts the power back with us. What does it mean when we are at choice point? Well, having a choice is a big responsibility. It's sometimes so much easier to let someone else make our decisions for us. But I'm here to share with you that what's really wanted and needed, and I think most people are awakening to this particular fact, is that we, people like you and I, are here finally to say, I really like thinking for myself, and I would like to make my own decision. I'd like to choose for myself whether or not I believe in something, whether or not I align with something, or whether I don't. And if I choose to disagree with you, great, we just disagree. I still respect you and you still respect me. It has nothing to do with you agreeing with me or not. I am here to make my own choice and then to take responsibility for that choice. And then to know when we choose, that choice puts us on a certain pathway. So we know that we are now currently also what they like to say, we're on two different timelines. You may have heard the word timelines bantered around for this past year. And, timelines have been around for thousands of years. We may have even heard those words used in science fiction shows like Star Trek or Star Wars, and they exist in actual reality. Anytime that you or I make a choice, whether it be big or little, it affects everything else that we're doing from that point on to some degree. Now, depending on the choice we make will depend on how much it affects us. So when I chose not to go to grad school when I was in my 20s because I felt, I don't know, rebellious or whatever was up for me when I was in my 20s. That made a choice for me. I then went on a different path from that point on. Now, sometimes when I look back at that, I think, well, wow, had I not made that choice, where could I have been again? If I had made a different choice, I'd have gone down a different pathway. A series of different opportunities may have come up for me. And then you make new choices. So you see, any choice that you make for yourself will open up different doors. So when we talk about having a choice, it's a big responsibility. Now, of course, we're coming into, as I earlier mentioned, a kind of pinnacle in the Earth's ascension process and in the evolution, our spiritual evolution for all of humanity. And there are two camps. We have been in a lot of what I would like to say, it's called the bifurcation. Now, the bifurcation just means that there's a split and one goes one way and the other goes another. Bifurcating isn't necessarily good or bad. It is something that is just occurring, and it is occurring in our world. And I know right here in California, where I live, it is happening between friends and family and loved ones. And then we also see it happening in nations and countries. We see a split. Again, in this context, we see a split of going two different ways. And in 2024, it's going to be really, really important that we make conscious choices, that we really take responsibility and sit with whatever may appear to us as a choice, especially the bigger choices as to whether or not we choose to live in a world that is a new world that we can help to create through our consciousness, that we choose to lift our own personal vibration by lifting our frequency. And we do that through self-growth work. We do that through dealing with our trauma issues, our dramatic, any aspect of our own shadow, our shadow self. When we learn how to face those things and deal with them and then release them from our physical body. And I just learned recently that our, what they say, our traumas are stored often in the heart, not the physical heart, but the energetic heart. And those are called samsaras in the yogic tradition, but they all are actual physical energetic. It's like your emotional energy from something you've experienced as a child. Unless you heal it, release it, and move on from it, it gets stored in this spiritual heart. So you can imagine that for most people who haven't had the luxury, like I have, to be able to study, train, work with healing my emotional baggage, that we store these things in our spiritual heart. And then that heart gets blocked. And then from that blockage, we then compound that often, especially if we feel that we're very identified with the role we might be playing in the world. And the role could be that of a teacher or a scientist or a doctor. It could be a housewife. It could be a mother. It could be anything that you might do. That's just a role. But who you really are gets lost in all of that when our hearts are shut down and when we're unable to really tap into our true essential self, which is really what I love to call this divine intelligence. Quantum physics names it the unified field. And I love that because it really is about unification. It's a field of energy that actually exists. I have felt it. I've seen it. Years ago, when I was involved with doing journey work, I had an opportunity to experience this unified field in a very visceral way. And I'll never forget that experience because I felt so loved, so held, so protected. And I knew from that point on that that field was always there and had my back. Even when I would forget that it had my back, I knew it had my back. So I share that with you to make this point that it's time for the human race to choose which way we wish to go. Now, we are going to, and have been, as I said, splitting. There's one camp that prefers to go into what we might call the technocratic age, or some people call it transhumanism. There's another, which we would like to say are more the organics. I'm one of those. What does that mean? So when we say we're aligned with organics, it just means that we have discovered for ourselves that our human divine self has all of the things that we think a machine, if we were hooked into it, would give us. We were naturally designed to be divine humans with all of our spiritual gifts, and you might want to say in our day and age terminology, our superhuman gifts intact. Now, why don't we use them? Well, there's a longer story behind all that, which I'm not going to go into tonight, but we've been here for thousands of years, and we didn't get here overnight. Our species developed the way it developed, but there are some things that have not been told that are not accurate, and new information is always being discovered. What I do know from fact is that our human species was always designed to be one that lived for many, many thousands of years, not for 80 or 90 or even 100 years, that we have the capability of healing our own bodies, that we have the capability of actually turning on and having our brain more engaged than where we have been using it. Dr. Joe Dispenza, who's one of my favorite teachers and authors, I love him. He teaches people easily through meditation how to shift their brain waves. And many, many hundreds and hundreds of people, maybe even thousands, have learned how to shift their physiology through doing this and go from being at death's door to completely healed. He has many, many cases shared online. And when I was tuning into these, I always feel so inspired, because these were people who had illnesses, diseases, some things that happened suddenly, some things that they lived with for years that doctors gave up on. And yet they didn't give up on themselves, and they knew if they could just find a way through this, that they would be able to heal themselves. And so they learned through working with these meditations and with learning how to work with our brain patterns, how to do this. I share those stories because that's something that is about our organic way of being. We have a natural way in which we as human beings can evolve into really turning on all of these capabilities, our ability to be clairvoyant, clairsentient, telepathic, to be able to remote view naturally, to be able to bilocate, all of the things that you may have even heard of that maybe saints or very high avatar masters have done. These things are not just for a few, but we're coming into an age, a quantum age of healing, a quantum spirituality, of living beyond the me into the we, connecting with our galactic brothers and sisters, becoming more willing to open up to new possibilities, letting go of some of the old ways in which we have felt comfortable, safe. And this could be a belief. It's like if someone says to you, try a new food, and you're in a foreign country, that new food may feel or even smell like something you're not quite sure you want to taste. But if you're in someone's home and it's the custom there for you to eat something, or you will be rude to that person, you're going to say, okay, I can do that for this moment. I can open up to tasting this food and letting them know that I appreciate it and that I am grateful for it and thanking them. And we do those things. I know I have, and I know that some of you may have also done so in your travels. So if we can do it there, then we can do it with each other. We can do it with our friends and our family. We can do it with nations and countries. Now, transhumanism, believing that we need to be hooked in to a chip or to any other kind of technological system, whether it be AI or other, if we believe that we're not enough and we believe we need something outside of ourselves to give us something, then we are going down another path. And that's totally fine. if that's what you choose, and that you choose it consciously. And you choose it because in your heart of hearts, you know it's the right thing for you. And yet you also let others who don't choose those things to do what they choose to do, that's in their heart for them. So we're in these two very different pathways. We're coming into the apex of that in 2024, where this bifurcation of timelines will be even more predominant, more available for us to actually see and notice. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean that we won't be able to still live in the world that we choose to live in. Again, we're at a time where we're being given the opportunity to wake up to what's really been happening on our planet, to learn some new information, to be open, to be able to say, you know, I don't have to necessarily believe it right now or agree with it, but I can be open to listening. This is a step in our humanity, in opening up to other beings' ideas. Sometimes it's not so easy. Sometimes we are ready to immediately say something, oh, no, that's not right. You know, we're ready with the words. We're not really listening. So I'm going to also mention here, choice point. There are a couple of key things in which we can do to help us to learn how to make our choices in a much more wiser way. And these are things that I practice as best of my ability. One of the things that I know that we can learn to do, and I invite you to learn how to do, if you don't already do this, is before you respond with somebody, before you respond to somebody, to stop before you have to make a choice about something, rather than agree or disagree, rather than just go along with something because you read it on social media or saw a video about it, that you really take the time to think about it. And you don't just stay in the mind. When I say think, I mean, there's a mental process to that, a questioning, you know, when we become someone who uses our own ability to choose, to think for ourselves, we learn something and we don't immediately agree. We say, especially if it's very different from our normal way of thinking, we might sit back and say, you know, I have to think about that. I have to marinate on that. I love that word, marinating on something. And then what I often do is when there's a decision I want to make about something that feels important to me or something that will make a difference in my life, I actually go into meditation, or I have a system, because I work very closely with what I like to call my higher self. Some people call it our superconscious self, other people call it the I am presence, but essentially it's our spiritual self. What I do is I tune in and I ask in my heart, I ask my heart of hearts, I ask my soul, I ask, is this a true desire? First of all, I want to know if it's my true desire. And then I ask, if it is, I say, is it highest wisdom for me at this time to do this? And if it involves other people, I might even go on and say, is it highest wisdom for all concerned? So these are things I've learned to ask over time, because I was able to train at a very early age with my spiritual family, a group of people who no longer exist as an organization, but we learned how to work with many spiritual ascended masters and teachers of working with Eastern plus Western philosophy. We developed an inner sensing ability to be able to know and trust our inner guidance. Now that's me, but I invite you to also, as we come into this new year, to begin to think about the choices that may come your way. And again, we're starting a new year now. What does that really mean? For me, it's not about making resolutions of any of that kind. For me, it's about healing, releasing, forgiving, and letting go of my former year. And 2023, I believe, on a universal theme, has also been about letting go of the old self. And you know, our world is changing rapidly. And I would like to say the infrastructures are collapsing in many ways. And as they collapse, it looks scary as things break down, but it is a necessary it is necessary for things to break down in order for new things to arise. So imagine it's the phoenix, out of the ashes rises this beautiful bird. But which way do you what do you want to rise from the ashes is the question. Where do you want to put your energy? Where do you want to put your attention? Do you want to put it on the place where we create a world that is really based in unity, where we want the well-being for all people everywhere, where we want to build structures and systems in schools where everyone is able to be educated, or where everyone has food and shelter and clothing, where we're able to heal the environment? We have technology right now. We have answers to much of these issues in our environment right now, but they're not being utilized because many things that have been given to us over the years are not being disclosed to the mass public. There's always a story behind the story. And I have, over the past 3 to 4 years, done a great deal of research and studying with other people to learn some of these things. At first, I was shocked. It seemed to be hard to believe. But after, corroborating many different stories and facts, I began to accept and know that that was most likely the way it was. So I only share that with you because if I have gone through that process and I was able to do it, so can you. So I invite you in this 2024 year of choice point to really look at what it means to make a choice. And what choices are you going to make for your new year? What choices are you going to make for yourself? What choices are you going to make for the collective? Any choice that we make for ourselves has some impact on the collective field of choices. We live in a unified field. So if you choose something that's not in support of your well-being overall, on some level, it ripples out into the collective field. So it comes back to how much do you wish to take responsibility for the choices that you do make? And also, how much are you willing to really learn how to choose wisely for yourself and therefore for others? To choose wisely, to really take time to think about information that you may be receiving. There's so much fake news. How do you know whether it's real or not? You have to sit with it. You have to do due diligence. Sometimes you have to do research. Sometimes we just get a knowing from in our gut. And sometimes we get a knowing that says, no, 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 this isn't right. This isn't true. It doesn't feel right. We tune in. We learn how to be more attuned to our inner sensing abilities. All of us have these capabilities. We don't need a machine, a computer, or anything else to tell us how to do this or how to evolve into a more compassionate, loving, and kind, wise, generous person. We don't need outside sources, no matter what they be, no matter how fun they might be for a while, to really tell us how to live or how to be divine humans. We need to remember, and I believe that we're moving into an age now, even more what we want to move into this new age, the golden age. There is in prophecy in many ancient sacred texts, they talk about this time, 25,000 years, where we go into 1,000 years of peace, a golden age. And is that something that you resonate with? I know right now, there's a lot of different information and we have to be discerning. We have to learn how to discern what we read and see and then choose from an inner guidance place. And I bring this to your attention because I practice this and I know if I can do it, you can do it. And I will say that it doesn't always mean that everything is an absolute. Of course, you still may make a mistake every now and then, but you just course correct when you do that. You go, oops, that wasn't quite exactly what I thought. Maybe you made it with your head instead of your heart, but you course correct. And I think it's so important for us to have this awareness, to know that we are more than our physical bodies, our emotions, that we're more than skin, Then we're more than the sum of our story of our lives, that we are a much greater consciousness. We are the unified field in a physical form. We are an expression of that divine intelligence in this physical form. And to learn how to use that wisely, to learn how to develop our ability to tune into our wisdom and to walk this earth from this new consciousness and to use it, to be thoughtful, to take time to make important decisions and to make important choices. They affect all of us, whether we know it or not, on some level. And the bigger the choice, the more effect they do have. So with that, I just want to invite you to truly, if you take nothing else away from this sharing, this conversation, well, it's actually this discourse, I would say, please know that you are more than who you think you are, that you are more powerful in your organic self as a divine human than you could ever imagine. And all it takes is a willingness to do a little discovering, to open up to a little research, to discover who you really are, and to be able to trust your own judgment, to develop that ability to trust yourself and trust life, and to see these choices as our world seems to become more polarized, that you make a difference in the way in which you choose to go. Do you choose to propagate the polarization or to propagate unification, love, understanding, cooperation, collaboration? Which world do you wish to put your energy and attention on? The world that I can see sometimes that's playing out right now is not by my choice. I choose to put my energy in a world that I want to live in, not in a world which is run by autocratic beings who are telling me what I can and cannot do. For me, that is what I call more of the technocratic world, the world of, for me, it's a dystopian future. And I have no desire to be a part of that. I choose to put my choice point to better use. I am choosing consciously where to put my attention and focus and energy. And of course, do what I can as I feel guided in the world to help, serve, and support others. And I invite you to do the same, to take the time to learn how to make a choice and to do it with deep, to give yourself the time to make those choices and to choose wisely which paths you wish to go down and how you wish to create this world. We have the power to discreate and the power to create. We always have had that power. We just forgot. We just forgot. We weren't told, and we began to believe that we were the children, that we weren't the co-creators. So with that message, I hope that you will go into 2024 knowing that you are an empowered human being, that you are a co-creator of life, that your choices are important and make a difference in terms of not only your personal life, but also in the world. And feel free to comment, feel free to DM me, feel free to connect with me. I'm Luminessa Enjara, and a happy, happy New Year. Many, many blessings. Thank you.